Hello, hello. We are live. Welcome to those of you joining us right now, and welcome to those of you who will be joining us to view this broadcast later on. Greetings of the season to you, whether you are in the northern or southern hemisphere. To those of you with me in the northern hemisphere, it's a brightest of Imbolc blessings to you, and for those of us joining us in the south, it's the brightest of Lunar blessings to you. And as you join us, it's lovely if you can post us a comment and let us know where you are, and so that we can see who's with us here. I'm shortly going to be introducing my guest, who you might have seen in our short trailer for today, the lovely Jacki Clement of Wild Blessing Ceremonies. And we're going to be talking about Jacki's Celebrant's journey. And we're going to be finishing the broadcast with a little seasonal blessing for you in both hemispheres. And for that, it would be really lovely if you could have to hand a candle. So if you don't have to go too far away from us now to grab a candle, then have one to hand nearby. And Jacki will be inviting you to the light as we reach towards the end of our conversation. So without further ado, I'm going to bring Jacki in to join me here now. So Jacki and I first met. Hi, Jacki.
Hello. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for joining us. And I'm just to say I'm here in Brighton on the south coast of England. And where are you, Jacki?
Oh, I'm down in Penzance in Cornwall, the place where the pirates were apparently from.
And Jacki and I first met on the course pages of our Celebrating Life course at the School of Celebrancy, where Jacki completed the course, training to be a celebrant for weddings and baby namings and vow renewals and other such happy family occasions. And we're here tonight just to talk about Jacki's celebrant journey. And of course, that journey always begins before you actually do any ceremonies or even do any training. So my first question to you, hello, it's lovely to see the messages coming in. Hello, lovely Kirsty, my lovely friend Kirsty in Brighton is with us. The first question I want to ask you, Jacki, is what first drew you towards celebrancy and led you to School of Celebrancy?
I've always been interested, I think, in this kind of idea. And growing up in South Africa, there wasn't really anything like this. So I couldn't really do anything about it. But when I moved to England about 15 or so years ago, the word celebrancy started popping up, and I got interested, in that way. And my journey actually starts in quite a funny way, really, because a few years back, maybe 4 or 5 years ago, my husband was looking for a change of career, and I was all for saying, Celebrancy, it's for you. You're perfect at it. You've got all the skills. You're good with people. You're good at public talking. You're good at writing, poetry, all these sort of things. And I was doing my very best to get him to be the celebrant. And the one day he turned around and said, well, why don't you do it then? Because he wasn't at that stage interested in doing it. So the penny sort of dropped, and I thought, why am I not doing this? I am the one that loves this sort of, this, this sort of thing. And that started me on researching different, celebrancy courses and all that. But the whole thing for me was that I didn't want to just do some sort of commercial course or just have it as a business. For me, it had to have a foundation of serving people and loving people. So whatever I chose to do, I always done it with I suppose passion, and it has to have that basis for me. And there wasn't anywhere out there that I thought offered, a spiritual, holistic foundation on which to base my heart business, really. So when I came across the School of Celebrancy, I was so excited that, at last there's something that I can do that witnesses with my heart, and I don't really know what to say, but it just fulfilled and ticked all my boxes for me. I've never looked back.
That's really wonderful to hear. Thank you, Jackie. It's so lovely to sort of hear that reflected back.
And I just have to add, as a side note, that now that my husband has seen what I do, he's actually joined in, and he now does ceremonies with me too on occasion for the handfastings when I need help. So I got my way in the end, really, I suppose. I was obedient to him for doing it myself, and then he came round to my way of thinking. So win-win.
That is great to hear. Thank you, Jackie. That's really lovely. I suppose I just want to say about the course, the School of Celebrancy courses, that it's great to hear that what really appealed to you is that whole approach of celebrancy as service, and as service to our communities, and with heart and soul. And I guess the origin of these courses, that one of the other things that makes them different to the other ones that are out there, is that we didn't start off about wanting to support people necessarily into doing this as a business, because a lot of the people that do our School of Celebrancy courses, we started off within the Order of Bards, Ovates and Druids, just providing a celebrancy training for our members. And so those are people who love the earth and follow the path of Druidry, and some of those people just wanted to be able to offer ceremonies as one of the ways that they can be of service to their wider communities. Or perhaps we have some people who come along who have just been asked to do a wedding, perhaps for a friend or a family member, and just want to kind of get that bit of I suppose guidance and support for how to do that. But then there are a proportion, I'd probably say, I don't know, maybe less than half or perhaps up to half, but of people that, like you and I, that feel really called to do this as our main work in the world and as part of our livelihood. And that was the way that you came into it, Jackie. So towards the end of the course, you got asked to write a bit of an action plan. And I can remember, I can't remember the exact detail, but I can remember feeling when I read yours, this lady's really on it. She's got a great plan here, and she knows just how to put it into action. How did it go? How can you perhaps tell us about your first steps into the world of celebrancy, your very first ceremony after graduating?
Oh, okay. Well, I think when I wrote my action plan, I might have been winging it a bit, really. I just intuitively wrote what I thought would be the possible steps, and how to to take my first steps on this path. And when I was looking back at it the other day, I've probably followed it quite closely. Just I don't know how that happened, but yes. So I think one of the, before I talk about my first ceremony, I'll just maybe touch upon what I think are maybe a good part of a business plan, and how I thought of it was I knew that I needed to network, but not just network with anybody really, but network amongst like-minded people. So I joined different Facebook groups that, and found my soul tribe really. I searched for people that resonated with me and my vision, I suppose. And even like the business suppliers that I work with, and down in Cornwall, being a small place really, we all love working together. We all got the same ethos and ethics and sustainability at heart. So I've been fortunate to surround myself with like-minded people, which makes it easier for me to walk on this path, because I know it's not just about me, it's all of us together providing our couples, who are getting married or maybe having other sorts of ceremonies. We're there to support them. It's all about them. Like my little slogan or tagline is like, my weddings or my ceremonies are all about you, and the you meaning like unique, unconventional, untraditional, and unboring. Because one of the things was for me is to represent the alternative people, the people with piercings, the people who don't want to get married in the registry office, the people who have got tattoos, green hair. There's enough celebrants you can do the what I consider, no disrespect, the sort of normal ceremonies. So my heart was for the people who could see, or who somebody that understood them and got them and could give them the ceremony that they wanted, that wasn't in a box or in a room, standard. So right from the beginning, I think I knew that I love outdoors. I want to be not marrying, but doing ceremonies on the cliff tops and on the beach and in sea caves and in forests and woodlands, twinkly lights, candles, all that that's the sort of ceremony that I'm passionate about. And I'm so grateful that the couples that seem to find me are the ones that understand, or I'm speaking their language or they speaking mine. I don't know, but I've just been blessed with the most beautiful, lovely couples. And I get so excited when they actually book me, because I think, yes, anyway, I'm digressing and waffling probably. But to get back to my first ceremony, it was really a special ceremony for me. It was for a lady who lives fairly close in our area. I was introduced to her, and she was going through a breast cancer journey, and she was halfway sort of through her treatments, and we wanted to honor her in some way for the person that she was and the way she was walking on her journey and learning all the lessons from it. And she was and is still an inspiration to her friends. So I called it Leslie's Circle of Love ceremony. And we had the friends that she'd invited. We stood around in a circle and we offered up our feelings of love and gratitude for the sort of person she was. And she had a chance to welcome them all in and thank them for the support, the support that they had been to her. And we had different little rituals in the ceremony, from a rose quartz heart, which they put their blessings into, and it got passed around. And then she put everything in a little medicine bag that we'd made for her. So she picked up, as we went around the elements, and we'd, honored the spirit of place, because we were in a beautiful setting. So as we went around, she got feathers and shells and a little red dragon and pebbles, and she collected all these things along with little bits and pieces. And we put this into her bag so that when she went back for her next chemo treatments, and then she could take the bag with everybody's blessings and wishes and love for her. Visually, physically, she could take that with her. So we were all in tears. I know, like, celebrants aren't supposed to cry or whatever, I don't know, but we were all very moved by it. And I was really nervous when I started, but after a few moments, you just get so into it. I think I sort of stepped out the way, really, and allowed just it to just flow naturally. And at the end, then we all had like a bring and share feast. And so I still see Leslie around our area every so often, and she's recovered and all's well. And when I met her, she didn't have any hair; it had all fallen out. She's got beautiful long hair, and so it was very moving. Anyway, that was it in a nutshell.
Oh, Jackie, that's so lovely and so inspiring to hear about that, because just making me, as you were describing that ceremony, I just thought, wow, this is one example of, people go through these momentous experiences, don't they? And yes, people can offer support in all kinds of ways, and people can receive support in all kinds of ways, but there's something very special about the focus of giving and receiving support within that held and very intentional space of a ceremony, isn't there? And that's why people choose to hold ceremonies for marriage, so that they can be held in that place while they're giving and receiving their vows and blessings. And it's just so lovely to think that of your friend having that support as she was going through.
And I wouldn't have been able to do that without the training that I got, during the course of creating that space and holding that space and allowing whatever needed to happen to happen. There was healing, and there was laughter, and there was tears, and and so that was such a beautiful first ceremony for me, because in my mind I think I was just going to do weddings and it would be nice and all that, but to do something completely different really was a lovely way to start and see it's not just about the weddings or just about that. Ceremony is so much deeper and wider and more than than I don't know, than all that.
It's I'm just so glad that you shared about that, and I'm just thinking, even if this just leads to one or two more people who hear this and might feel like offering a ceremony like this to people in their circle, that perhaps this idea, let's hold that intention of just, throwing this like a pebble in a pond and let the ripple spread out and let there be more lovely ceremonies like this for people to really get that support in a held space when they most need it, really. Another thing that just made my heart sing, Jackie, was when you mentioned about, how you held the space for the ceremony. You talked about like just getting myself, I think you said, getting myself out of the way so that what could flow through, needed to flow through, could flow through. And, as you know, that's something that I talk about in the course. So it's really great to hear that that's what happened. And so then you moved on from there, and you, as you said, you really visualized yourself doing these ceremonies out in these beautiful wild Cornwall and all these wonderful magical locations. And from the photos that I've seen on your website, that's has come to pass.
Yes. I think, and one of the other things that I started to touch upon was networking and surrounding yourself with suppliers who you can flow with. And in a twist of whatever, I don't know, a few years before I decided to be a celebrant, my daughter became a wedding photographer. So when she heard that I was going to be doing this, and she was about 3 years ahead of me, maybe, it just made sense for us to work together, because we both loved the same sort of couples, and eloping was just starting to come on the scene just before, COVID and all that sort of stuff. More and more people were becoming interested in escaping to Cornwall for an elopement. So it made sense for us to offer a package, I suppose, where they can book her and book me. And because she knows the coast so well, she found really unique, lovely locations that we could do this. So she's got a lot of her own couples, and I have my own couples. But when we can work together, we really, love it. We have so much fun, and our couples have so much fun, and they, most of our couples are adventurous, free-thinking, passionate sort of people, like our sort of people. So we love doing ceremonies with them. So that has helped me do so many more ceremonies in a shorter space of time by teaming up with somebody. So any other celebrant that's just starting out, if you can find a photographer or your group of people to work with, it just makes it just so much more exciting for, and fun for everybody. And, you all help each other out, and the word grows, and you grow, and the number of people you can help grows as well. So
That's a really great tip for all the celebrants that out there who are listening to this. And one that I'll network. And have you got I remember you saying that you sought out those networks, and you said through Facebook. Can you remember what kind of things you were searching?
Well, I'm sure I looked for like the druidy ones, the outdoor wedding ceremonies. I can't offhand think of any. Then, there's like the Celebrant directory, and then the one we also know, the Celebrant Collective, whatever, the CCC one. With Natasha and so
Claire,
there are some wonderful groups out there that for extra support and training and help. If you don't know everything when you start out, but you can learn from everybody else who's a few steps in front of you. So
Absolutely. Yes. Yeah. The Celebrants collective that you mentioned, they
Yeah,
are
yeah,
really, really great for supporting celebrants who want
yeah,
to establish this as a livelihood. Really excellent at that.
yeah.
Um, and so how can you remember how many ceremonies that you did in your first sort of wedding season? Did they all fall within the season, as you're doing it out in the wilds? Did they mostly happen through the summer
Um,
months?
yes and no. I think the first year I only did Leslie's ceremony because it was just before all the pandemic stuff. So then in my second year, I did three, and that was a vow renewal and a hand fasting in the forest, and yeah, a small wedding on climbing down a cliff on a rock with huge waves going. I'm glad I'm alive to tell the tale.
Wow.
And the poor mother of the bride didn't realize we were going like rock climbing onto a rock above the wild sea, and she was wearing stiletto type shoes. So in the end, so my top tip when doing elopements, or check out where you're going and make sure you wear sensible footwear. Yeah, so we have, yeah, most of our brides do wear boots or barefoot, or they get the thing, the whole the one of the other ceremonies, just to digress, we were on the top of a cliff in the gale force winds, and she had a veil on, and so the whole time, like, I was thinking she's going to get, disappear over the edge with her veil, like, anyway. So, but we all survived. Which was, yeah, so that's good. But what was the question? I think I've forgotten.
Oh, I was just asking you about, how many ceremonies you did in
Oh,
your first
yeah,
season, which you
yeah,
did answer. And
yeah,
it keeps growing from
yeah.
there. So
So
you've got
yeah,
a busy diary ahead.
last year I had 22, and they were nearly all outdoors. I think two were in the
Wow.
venue, and this year I'm getting close to about 40.
Oh,
And
wow,
I just can't
Jackie.
believe it. It doesn't seem sort of like real. I don't think I'll be able to take much more than that for, for this year, maybe. So it's just, I'm just so grateful that my couples are adventurous enough to do something outdoors, and we just embrace the weather and just go with what we've got. Sometimes, if they're elopements, we can be a bit flexible. So we have a day, but if the day isn't looking too good, we can maybe do the day before or after. If I'm not booked or anything, we work around the weather if it's really that bad. So. But yeah, so I'm very grateful that this is my third year, I would think, that I've got as many bookings as I have, and I'm just grateful.
Yeah, that's wonderful, amazing, kind of
Yeah,
blossoming from
yeah.
the
But
quite
that
small
can happen
beginnings.
to anybody, not just me. If it's happened to me, other celebrants out there, don't give up hope if you're thinking, oh, you've only got five or whatever. It's not about numbers anyway. It's about the people.
It's about people
Couple.
and the connections that you
Yeah,
make with them, isn't
yeah.
it? And yeah, I must apologise if anyone can hear any background noise going on in my house. By the way, I don't know if it's coming across, but yeah, this is just yeah. Haven't got a pro studio to go to. I'm just in my son's bedroom actually. Um, so yeah, you mentioned about the weather. And that's another thing that I wanted to ask you about. Is you're doing all these ceremonies outdoors, and you've mentioned some wild and windy weather. Do people normally have a backup plan? And also the other
Uh,
sort, yeah. Or answer that first. Yeah.
Most people don't really have a backup plan other than maybe moving to another day, really. Otherwise, they just have to go with what is,
Okay.
whether it's wellies and umbrellas or
Yeah.
raincoats. Yeah.
And And if you think back to all those ceremonies that you did last summer, could I ask you to pick, what was the most memorable one and why?
Ooh, they're also memorable to me because I really love all my couples, so they're all special for different reasons. But maybe the one that I have a really soft spot for was, I think it was maybe September this last year. Um, this couple, they were from Northampton, up that way. Just to digress slightly again, I thought when I was starting out that my couples would all be advertising creatives and fashion people from London. I don't know why I thought that, but I just thought people from London come to Cornwall in my ignorance. But most of my couples have been from up north, like Northampton and Yorkshire, places like much higher up, and they've been so delightful. So any northern couples who want to come to Cornwall, I'm here for you. So, yeah, they've just been lovely. But anyway, so to get back, the ceremony maybe that stands out for me was early one sunrise. We went to a beach not too far from us, and there's a beautiful cave at this beach, and it's almost like a tunnel. You can go in one side and come out the other. And this couple, there was just something so beautiful about them. It was almost like they'd been broken so the light could shine out of them in some way. They didn't realize maybe how special they were. I mean, he had green hair and the big stretches in his ears, and she was in the most beautiful mermaid blue green shimmery dress, and they'd been through hard times, I think, and it just brought them so much closer. They embraced almost the frailty or the weaknesses in each other, but together it made them strong. I mean, I don't know if I'm explaining this really well, but there was just something about that couple. And even now, when I think of them, I feel quite emotional, I suppose, or such love for them, that they didn't let the brokenness or the past hold them back, and they just grew together into something so beautiful. And they stood in the cave as the sun was coming up. The water, there was a bit of like a puddle of seawater, a pool of water, and the light was just shining on them, and they were there, and I was to the side, and it was just really magical and just really special. So that couple stands out for me in some way. That
Oh, that's really beautiful to hear, Jackie. And as I hear you talk about them, it just it reminds me of the feeling I often get when I'm working with couples, that some you just fall a bit in love with them when you hear when you meet them and hear their story, don't you? And you're listening to them tell the story of how they fell in love with each other, and you kind of
I was going to say, he was just the most stylish as well. He had this beautiful black brocade suit on and black fingernails, and their tattoo. I don't know, they were just made a beautiful couple. And I was a bit in love with them, and it was really, I suppose it's that motherly heart really that I have. To me, they're all my children, really. I don't know if that's good or bad or whatever, but I just think, like that could be my child there, or that is somebody's child, young adult or adult.
Yeah.
So yeah, I do relate to them from a motherly heart, really, a
Yeah.
compassionate heart, a heart for them, um, that they're starting off on their next stage of their relationship and their journey, and that I'm actually there by, I don't know who, it's just, I still can't get my head around that I'm actually doing something like this, that I'm actually there, and why didn't I
Yeah.
do it years ago?
Oh,
But then I wouldn't be who I was years ago. You have to be ready in yourself to to walk on this journey. So
yeah.
I had an excellent foundation, as I say.
Yeah. And you're bringing all your life experience, from to what you did before. I wonder if thinking about your journey in that regard, I know certainly for myself, I can now look at all sorts of things that I did before I became a celebrant, and see how that kind of feeds into what I now do. Is it the same for you? And what is it? How can you talk about those things that have now feeding in to what you bring to your
Yeah.
celebrancy work?
I think when I was in South Africa, before I left to come over to England, I did architecture. I was an architectural designer. And the process that I developed, or that worked for me, is so similar to the same process of how I create a ceremony now. And in the olden days when I did architecture, I would never design anything. There were so many different stages, like from researching the project and understanding the land and where the house or the building was going to go, how it fitted in, and where the sun went, and the best way to build the house. Would it be stone or timber or concrete or whatever? And the stages that I went through, one of the last stages was I'd wake up and I'd have the design in my head. I'd see what I had to do. And so the next bit was easy because I'd done all those stages. All I had to do was draw the plan onto the paper, hand it to the builder, or. So my process is very similar. I go through all those stages of imagining and creating, and then one morning I'll be in the shower or doing something, and the ceremony just pops into my head, really. So all I really need to do is tweak it and write it. I think I've developed that over all these years. So it's really helped me understand my brain, maybe, or how I work, and trust my intuition. And,
Yeah.
I can't just write something which doesn't fit for the person. I have
Yeah.
to translate what I get from them into some sort of visual thing, and then write it down. And then just the same as with the architecture, you have the building at the end, and I look at it and I think, yes, that was, it's been through my brain and it's come out. It's the same with
Yeah.
the ceremony,
Yeah.
really, that I see it, and I see, them all standing there or whatever, and it's come through me and it's out there into the world. And I don't know, it's the process astounds me, really, but that's how I work. I've got to trust myself and listen to the intuition and wait for the download. Whatever.
Oh, Jackie, that's beautiful
Yeah.
to hear.
I don't know if that
It,
answers your question, but
totally, it does. It's like what you've described as really your creative process, and how creative process has transferred from your work in architecture into how you do this with celebrancy. And I love how just the way that you spoke about celebrancy then really brought out like how incredibly creative it is. You know, it is a creative art form. I've been doing this new course at the moment that's a kind of in-depth I suppose professional development course. The first one was called Celebrating Earth, but I think we're going to change the title to the Elements of Ceremony. But yeah, I was talking in that course about celebrancy as a creative act, and words are our medium and our voices are our tool, but also, you know, the enactment of ritual is so important. And what you were saying, that, you know, vision, you're literally kind of visualizing and seeing how some ceremony takes place.
How it all fits together and it works, and which is what I used to do in my old life
Yeah.
to now. So
Yeah.
So a lot of my past has made me into the celebrant that I am today. I wouldn't be how I am today if I hadn't have walked that journey, you know, before. So
absolutely. Well, we're kind of coming towards, I know we could speak all night, but we're kind of coming towards the end of our time. But I just want to kind of say, if anyone else has got any questions for Jacki, you know, anyone else who's with us has got any questions that they'd like to put to Jacki before we bring this part of a chat to a close, then by all means type them in the box now. It's lovely to see your positive comments and the little hearts flash up as we've been talking.
I don't see any of that.
Oh, well, did you see Andrea said that she's really enjoying you, Jacki? Your authenticity and love shine through, and you've obviously found your vocation, and the couples are lucky to have you.
Thank you.
And there are lots of little, you know, thumbs up and hearts that we've been getting through the conversation.
Thank you.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly with what Andrea has said there. So yeah, we're going to do a little bit of celebrancy now because we're at such a special time of year. I guess that most people joining us will know, but just in case anybody doesn't, here in the northern hemisphere, we're halfway between the winter solstice and the spring equinox. So we're at the time of Imbolc, when we celebrate the light returning. And Jacki's going to lead us on a little Imbolc blessing shortly. And I know that others, if they're not joining us right now, they certainly will be tuning in later to catch the broadcast, you know, from the other side to where it of course is Lunasa. So excuse me one moment. I'm just going to ask somebody to stop hoovering outside the door.
This is real life.
Yeah. Yes. So on the other side of the world, it's Lunasa. They're halfway between the summer solstice and the autumn equinox over in the Australia and South Africa. The first beginnings of the harvests. The first harvests are being gathered in. So, Jacki, would you like to first lead us in an Imbolc blessing? And for those of you who've joined us just recently and weren't here at the beginning, if you've got a candle to hand, that would be great. But otherwise, you can focus on Jacki's candle here. Over to you, Jacki.
Thank you. We'll start off by just having a few deep breaths just to ground us and just to feel grateful for everything. So I'll just start with a bit of breathing, maybe 3 slow, deep breaths. So we can feel the peace and just be still. And I'm going to light our candle. And if you've got your candle with you, feel free to light it. We're lighting this candle just to remember the light returning to us here. And I'm just going to do a little reading for us. So if you close your eyes and just listen and see how you resonate with it. Mighty Bridget, keeper of the flame, blazing in the darkness of winter, as we mark the halfway point between winter solstice and spring equinox, we are grateful for our past, our present, and future blessings. Goddess, daughter of spring, we honor you, bringer of light, healer of cold hearts. Bless all those around your sacred fire tonight, Hearth Mother. May we be as fruitful as the soil itself. And as we slowly enter into the season of birth and bloom, may our lives in the coming spring be nurturing and fertile, bringing light and love to those we serve. May we all grow, blossom, and reach our fullness. So may it be.
So may it be. Thank you, Jackie. That was beautiful. And just for those on the other side of the world, as the crops are beginning to ripen, and it's just quite magical sometimes just to remember that we're all on this earth together, and that the turning seasons are reflecting each other, mirroring one another. So I have a couple of short Lunasa blessings. Well, the one is a quote from Henry David Thoreau, who said, "The true harvest of my life is intangible, a little stardust, caught a portion of the rainbow I have clutched." And for all of you in the south, may your harvest be bountiful and sustain you through the winter months that lie ahead. And may the love of friends and family, the brightness of the sun, and the brightness of the stars warm your heart and soul always. So that brings us to completion for this evening. We, just in case anyone's here for the first time joining us, we have our School of Celebrancy live broadcasts on the first Tuesday of each month. And next month we're going to be back into the world of funerals again. I've got a lovely guest who will be joining me, Rudolph, who is a very, very busy funeral celebrant in his home city of Vienna, where there are some very interesting customs and traditions surrounding death there, and I'm excited to hear from him about his work. And yes, so just bright blessings of the season to one and all, wherever you are and whenever you're joining us, even if you're not here in this actual exact time of the day or evening that we're broadcasting now, you're kind of with us in this moment. So our hearts go out to you, and we wish brightest of blessings to you and yours. and go well. And perhaps we'll see you here again next month. Bye-bye for now.
Bye.
Thank you so
Thank
much
you
for joining us, Jacki.
Oh.